Hello ladies, gents and miscellaneous. Today I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the crossover slash SUV trend and try to pin down just what makes them so spiteful and yet so popular. Frankly, they're everywhere and I need to make this video to try and quantify a changing world that I have tried and failed to understand. So with a moderate amount of further ado, let's get into it. First thing I should point out is that I am from the UK, so for this video I will be using cars that are sold in the UK and Europe. There will be some inevitable crossover, some pun intended, with the American market, as obviously a lot of models are sold in both places. However, I will mostly be looking into the smaller side of things, as this video is about crossovers rather than SUVs, which function more as a replacement for estate cars as opposed to commuter type dingers. So, a brief history lesson. Crossovers are a relatively new craze in the world of cars, having only really come into the mainstream in the last 15 to 20 years. The term originated in America in the early 60s and was used to describe the Studebaker Wagonaire by Motor Trend magazine. This was because it was, quote, a crossover of various vehicle types. However, the car widely regarded as the first crossover is the 1979 AMC Eagle, since it was unibody, had raised suspension, and was available as a four-wheel drive. Other notable early examples of the idea include the 1977 Matra Rancho, although officially it was described as a lifestyle vehicle, whatever that means. The country variant of the Mark III Golf, kind of, and also the 1977 Lada Niva technically fits the definition despite not typically being what we think of as a crossover. In more recent times though, they all seem to conform to roughly the same shape and design profile. Taller than an equivalent hatchback, slightly more ground clearance, higher seating position, and stupid matte plastic bullshit all over the place. Looking at you, Citroen C3 Cactus. But how are they to drive? In short, bad. Raising the centre of gravity leads to more body roll. Because of their age, they're equipped with electric power steering, usually some form of vague auto slush box, and have very thin sidewalls on the tyres, and that all comes together to produce a car that is not very good to drive. Off-roaders aren't meant to drive nice, I hear you cry. And you'd be correct. Cars like the Suzuki Jimny, Land Rover Defender are very, very capable off-road. However, you try and throw them around a B road and you'll be in for a scary time. Another drawback of a crossover is the weight disadvantage. Some of them put on more weight than others compared to their hatchback equivalent. However, it's usually roughly a 200 to 400 kilogram difference. This weight is more noticeable again due to the raised centre of gravity. The crossovers I've driven have all had a lot more difficulty hiding their weight than their hatchback counterparts. If it's not very good on the road, then it should be good off-road, right? Not even remotely. They do offer better ground clearance than a typical modern hatchback. However, this isn't much more ground clearance than a typical older hatchback. Now, I'm going to take the gold standard of shitboxes as an example here, the K11 Micra. Now, from what I can find, it has a ground clearance of 145 to 150 millimeters. That's our baseline. The standard Ford Puma quote-unquote boasts 164 millimeters, so less than an inch more. The ST has 152. The Citroen C4 Cactus comes in with a whopping 130 to 151, 130 for the earlier shape and 151 for the later. This is supposed to be an off-road capable-ish vehicle. The worst offender here is the Mazda MX-30, scraping its way up the drive with a measly 130mm of ground clearance. Having said all that, it's a bit of a moot point, considering these things never really go off-road anyway. That's what K11 Micras are for. A lot of crossovers come with absolutely terrible engines. 1.2 PureTech, Blue HDI, the godforsaken mess that is the 1-litre EcoBoost. That's not really a point against crossovers as such, more just generally against modern cars. What can be attributed to crossovers, however, is the effect that extra weight has on drivetrain components. The underpowered engines and weak transmissions they come with are strained more than they like, and this can cause premature wear and even failure. Now, for a time I worked at a retail car parts supplier, and one customer with a Peugeot 3008 1.2 PureTech would come in almost every day to buy a fresh litre of oil. The first time they gave me their reg for the system, I was surprised to see that it was a brand new car. The owner had put 400 miles on it before it had flashed up asking for more oil, a la Oliver Twist. Okay, so this is of course my personal opinion, but they're ugly as hell. Frumpy, uneven, fat, bulbous, and that's just your mum before she gets in a Nissan Juke. Oi! They don't look rugged to me at all. They all just look like a plastic toy you'd give to a toddler to play with for exactly 7 minutes before they go back to watching Cocomelon with a slack jaw. The only exception is the Suzuki Hustler. He's just a cheeky little guy. He could get away with anything he wants. Look at those little cheeks. Anyway. Now, as much as I and every other self-respecting car person hate crossovers, what's undeniable is how well they seem to sell. The best-selling car in the UK in 2023 and 2024 was the Ford Puma. Before that, it was the Nissan Qashqai. Not to mention the dozens of other available models that sell in huge numbers and have done for the past decade. Just going on Auto Trader and searching by body type reveals that, on the whole, crossovers are selling more than hatchbacks by a very beefy margin, when historically Britain has always loved hatchbacks. There has to be a reason, surely. I looked through various owner reviews and general Googling seems to just turn up with people saying things that are objectively not true. People saying how they enjoy how they drive. People saying how it has more space. People saying how good it is on fuel. All of this would suggest that people read a lot more of the brochure than they used to. Now, I have a slightly different view, based more on psychology, a field which I am wildly uneducated in, by the way. I think it's because it's a quote-unquote big car. Cars are getting larger every year, and it's somewhat of an arms race. People feel safer in a larger car with a higher seating position. Well, to me, it's worse in almost every conceivable way to a 20-year-old Facebook Marketplace special. To a normal person who sees a car as just an appliance, it represents something fancy and big. The oversized wheels, the big arches, the chunky proportions. To them, it's a step up from a hatchback, despite in reality, it's largely the same thing. So in conclusion, I still hate them. They're nothing more than financial interest generators with no real advantages over any other vehicle. Except the Suzuki Hustler. That one can stay, no one can ever hurt him. Well, that raised my blood pressure. I hope you enjoyed hating as much as I did, and if you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and until next time, see you in a bit, gay boys.